All right, let's now go back to these United States of America and talk about the other Satan-worshipping demons of this earth. Kathy Hochul, who has now chimed in on the Texas scandal, the Texas political outrage of Texan Democrats fleeing to the state of Illinois to lower the quorum so that you no longer meet quorum in order to vote on what they're calling unconstitutional gerrymandering. The ultimate irony of Texas Democrats going to the state that is notorious for racially motivated gerrymandering is not lost on anybody except dimwit Democrats. And this is what Kathy Hochul has to say about this. It's actually stunning. I don't want to play the whole thing. I want to play a portion of it to highlight a few things. As we watch this, I want to highlight for you this. If my microphone is ever so finely tuned that you hear the inner potchings of my mouth, the saliva tacking as I talk, please tell me, and I will put a buffer on it. I don't like hearing the inside noises of a person's mouth when they speak. One thing. Second thing, you know damn well this is what it looks like when you didn't write your own speech and you're trying to read it without adequate preparation. Kathy Hochul, a demon who pushes the experimental jab on children as young as 6 months, had this to say about what's going on in Texas, and also appreciate this through the time-tested and true principle of the iron law of woke projection, confession through projection. Accuse your enemies of doing what you are doing so as to create confusion. Listen to what Kathy Hochul has to say they're going to do now as retribution for what they accused the Republicans of doing in Texas by gerrymandering based on race, whatever.
And I have news flash for Republicans in Texas. This is no longer the Wild West. We're not going to tolerate our democracy being stolen in a modern-day stagecoach hoist by
What the hell did she just say?
A bunch of law-breaking cowboys.
Like, can you imagine the balls of this arrogant itchbay to look at Texas and reduce them to a trope, a stereotype? I mean, it goes to show you exactly what she thinks of every other race, creed, religion, gender, reducing them to tropes and stereotypes. We haven't yet heard the...
Americans don't want a system that's stacked against them.
The hell are you
They believe in
about?
fairness. It's fundamental.
There.
I'll tell you this, they're done with the chaos. They're done with the cruelty. And I would say they're ready to vote Republicans out of power in Washington, certainly in the upcoming 2026 elections. Republicans know this. They've seen the polls. They know they're sliding downhill because Americans are rejecting their policies.
Look, by the way, look at her eyes. Follow her eyes, and then you can make the joke that I know that everyone is thinking.
So this is why they're fighting. They want to. They know they'll lose the elections, but to subvert the will of the people, they're hell-bent on rigging the system. Rigging the system is un-American. Congressional districts are never redrawn mid-decade as they are. But here they are never redrawn mid-decade as they are. But here they are, flagrantly breaking the rules so they can hold on to power.
Everything she has said is a confession as to what they have done. Oh, they don't do it mid-decade. They just do it whenever they redistrict. They don't rig elections, except the way they rigged 2020. They don't change the rules, and they don't control the free flow of information and censor. They're not rigging the elections when they do it. They're just fortifying them. That was actually the article from 2020 Time magazine.
And with that power, they're going to inflict even more pain. And they'd rather eliminate fairness in the system than to proceed knowing they're going to lose.
Can you believe this?
Mm-hmm. They'd rather silence voters than serve them. From my perspective, to refuse to stand up and fight for our democracy as we are joining in solidarity with our friends from Texas means one thing. You won't fight for democracy, you're doomed to lose it. For almost 250 years.
We can stop here. I can't stand it. I want to go to the end here. Let me just play.
Thank them so much for making this journey. You are on the right side of history.
The people who are telling you they're on the right side of history don't know what a man looks like. They can't identify a man or a woman, but they're telling you that they're on the right side of history. I'll tell you who I think is more on the right side of history. The people who can identify a man and a woman, the people who can say to a child, no, you don't get to do this to your body because you're a child and you don't know what you're going to want for your body in 10 years from now. I want to bring up what Greg Abbott is trying to do. He's the one who might be closer to the right side of history than Kathy Hochul, vax-pushing demon. Greg Abbott is threatening to expel this. We're going to get the full context of what's going on here. You have the Democrats who literally left Texas so they could cause quorum to not be met so that they cannot vote on this redistricting proposal. I'm old enough to remember when doing something questionable that would impede the proper functioning of government was referred to as obstruction of government, obstruction of an official proceeding. I don't know that this is necessarily illegal, but I know that there is a way to make it potentially illegal, as in to say they can leave and it's not illegal until I forget who it is that comes in and gives them a deadline within which to come in, but they can't serve that notice on them if they're out of the jurisdiction. And so their smart ass way of not being able to be served, to be given a timeline to come back and vote, as is their obligation as elected members of government. They leave the state and go to the most corrupt shithole state in the union, Illinois. Greg Abbott threatens to expel Texas Democrats as they thwart redistricting. Listen to this, okay? It's complicated. I've looked up some of the legalities of this, but bear in mind, I'm just a schnook Canadian former commercial litigator who has now moved to the free state of Florida and hopes to be value added to the United States of America. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has threatened to remove, quote, derelict Democrats. But they're thinking they can derelict their own balls. The derelict Democrats from the state's House of Representatives if they fail to return by Monday afternoon. The threat came after numerous Texas Democrats left their home state, traveled to Illinois in an effort to prevent the legislature from holding a vote that would approve Republican-backed redistricting maps. What's amazing is this. They are the scum of the earth. Let's just say that it's not illegal. It's only, I don't know, unethical. Let's just say it's purely political. Vote, have the Republicans win, and then bitch and moan about it. That's how democracy works, right? No? I thought that's how it worked. You don't get to control the outcome of elections. You just get to do your civic duty as an elected official. No. They don't want to hold the vote knowing that they're going to lose it, so they pop the ball and walk off the court. In a letter to Democrats, Abbott wrote, quote, real Texans do not run from a fight, but that's exactly what most of the Texas House Democrats just did. Rather than doing their job and voting on urgent legislation affecting the lives of all Texans, they fled Texas to deprive the House of the quorum necessary to meet and conduct business. Why it matters. Abbott's threat intensifies the face-off over Republican efforts to redraw the districting map in Texas to bolster the party's chances of retaining the U.S. House and Representatives in 2026 midterm elections. I've never understood how redistricting works. I mean, I know they do it every so often. There's a fixed period within which they do it. Whenever they do it, I appreciate the idea of you try to redraw the maps to dilute your ideological political adversaries' concentration, flooded with people who will dilute that so you can convert that district into your own political district. I appreciate how they do it. Barnes and I go over these lawsuits all the time, and my brain shuts off the same way it shuts off when people try to explain Bitcoin to me. But I understand the gist of it. Republicans have slim majorities in both the U.S. House Senate, giving Democrats hopes of retaking at least one of the houses of Congress in next year's election. Okay. Abbott said in his statement that the Texas Democrats' absences were, quote, premeditated for an illegitimate purpose, the specific purpose of abdicating the duties of their office and thwarting the chamber's business. He said their action amounted to, quote, an abandonment or forfeiture of an elected state office. He added, quote, the truancy ends now. Truancy, they'll say. That was what Milhouse said in an episode of The Simpsons. The derelict Democrat House members must return to Texas and be in attendance when the House reconvenes at 3 p.m. What time is it now? We're going to find out if they did it. For any member who fails to do so, I will invoke Texas Attorney General Opinion number KP, whatever, to remove the missing Democrats from membership in the Texas House. What I understood is that they could legally be compelled to return to vote if they could be properly served, which they couldn't be if they're out of state. And so that was their whole reason for leaving the state. It's not just enough for them to leave the building. They need to leave the state, so they cannot be properly served to be legally compelled to return within a certain time frame. But it seems that Abbott is floating another idea, which is call them dereliction of duty and remove them from office if they don't come back within the specified time frame. More than 51 Democrat members of Texas House left the state on Sunday, aiming to deny the chamber a quorum and prevent the passage of the proposed Republican map before a scheduled floor vote. Texas House requires the presence of at least 100 of its 150 members to conduct business. With only 62 Democratic members in the chamber, their collective absence can halt legislative proceedings. Abbott had called special session to address the flooding that killed 135 people last month in Texas Hill Country and the redistricting plan. Democrats have argued that if Republicans succeed in redrawing the Texas districts, Trump will push other states to do the same. Well, you have Kathy Hochul now saying they're going to do it in New York anyhow. They got to fight fire with fire, as she said. Bunch of scoundrels looking for any excuse they can find to do what they're accusing their adversaries of doing. Speaking in Chicago on Sunday, Texas House Democratic Caucus Chair Jean Wu said, "We're not here to play political games. We're not here to play political games. That's why we flew to Illinois to play political games. We're here to demand an end to this corrupt process. Today's the day this corruption ends. If Donald Trump is allowed to do this once again, cheat and get away with it, there's no stopping this. It will spread across the country and rip it apart." Well, you got Kathy Hochul, who basically just admitted that that's what she's going to do in New York. Fight fire with fire, as the expression goes. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat, said the Texas Democrats had no choice but to leave their state to block the vote and protect their constituents. Let's be clear. Anytime they say, let's be clear, you're getting ready to be fed a line of bullshit. This is not just rigging the system in Texas. It's rigging the system against the rights of all Americans. Okay, what people are saying, I think we can stop that. That's what's going on there. But I wanted to bring this. It's beyond parody. This is what Jean Wu said. They take to Twitter and they say, on the ground in Chicago, fighting for the rights of Texans and all Americans. I'm on the ground in Chicago fighting for the rights of Texans. By the way, just I'm no aviator expert. Do they fly a chartered flight? Like, who paid for that flight out of the state so they can be derelict in their duties to vote when they are required to vote, regardless of whether or not they like what they have to vote on? Who paid for that flight? And I said, like, I hope, if there's any justice on earth, that all of these selfies of these people admittedly frustrating the democratic process, which is voting when you need to vote, on taxpayer dollars, I presume, pissing away taxpayer dollars, I hope these serve as exhibits in either criminal proceedings or disciplinary proceedings that they deserve to face in the immediate future. And then we got one more here. Listen to this. They are, I don't want to be unfair to Democrats. I don't want to paint them all with a broad brushstroke. You have a couple of reasonable ones, and then you have the rest. 95% of Democrats give the other 5% of Democrats a bad name. So far, I can only think of Ro Khanna that is being tarnished by these idiots. I'm going to play this, and I'm not going to interrupt it for 1 minute and 13 seconds.
House Democrats have left the state. They are breaking quorum. They are taking this fight national, and they are putting the brakes on Trump's plan, the president's plan to steal congressional seats from the people of Texas. First things first, I stand with my colleagues who are breaking quorum right now. They are fighting not just for Democrats in Texas, but for Republicans and independents alike, because we are supposed to choose, the people choose who represents them in Congress. Congressional reps or corrupt politicians do not choose their voters. Texans and Americans are sick of the division. We're sick of being beaten down and being ignored. And that's exactly what's happening in Texas right now. Remember, Republicans have chosen for the last 2 weeks not to move on what matters most to Texans right now. And that's relief from the devastating floods in the Hill Country. Democrats showed up ready to work on flooding day one. For the entire first half of session, Republicans prioritized corrupt gerrymandering that is both partisan and racist. We'll be back with more info soon on everything that's going on, but let me close with this. I'm so proud of Texas Democrats and proud of my House colleagues for their tenacity, their courage. Go get them, y'all. House Democrats have left the state. They are breaking quorum. They are taking this
I just want to get it
fight national, and they are putting the brakes on Trump's plan, the president's plan to steal congressional seats from the people of Texas.
If there was a face of the Democrat Party, this is it right here. First of all, the vocal fry drives me nuts. The vocal fry drives me nuts because it's what a dumb person does to sound smarter. Sorry if I'm judging unfairly anybody who inadvertently partakes in vocal fry. Let me just get something here where we don't have text. What the hell is on her face? I was watching this video. I was like, oh, maybe the video's from 5 years ago. Wait a minute. No, she's literally talking about news that's occurring today. She's wearing a flipping face mask on her face, on her chin. So you've got the party who's talking about who's going to be on the right side of history that can't tell a boy from a girl, that is wearing a face mask on her chin 5 years out of COVID. Now, she's a nurse, I think. Let me just see something here. I think she's a nurse. Molly, look that. Please, if I saw red shoes in there, I was just going to lose it. Senator Molly Cook, Molly for Texas, Texas State District, ER nurse. So maybe she's wearing the face mask because she's going to work, even though she's outside here and inside here wearing a face mask that does nothing, and we know it for COVID. But maybe she's going to do some ER and she doesn't want to get the spittles in the thing. So she's wearing it to virtue signal. Oh my goodness. They were there to help the Texans who were the victims of the flood. But now they've left because they don't want to help them if it means also voting on the redistricting plan. That's basically about the size of it. Holy, sweet, merciful goodness, people. Those are your Democrats of today's day and age. And I didn't play the whole video of Kathy Hochul before because I was going to get to the article. I don't want to hear her voice. She makes me want to puke. Hochul vows to fight fire with fire on redistricting while hosting Texas Democrats who fled state. Listen to this. Kathy Hochul vowed to fight fire with fire. That's a direct quote from the video that we were watching earlier. Amid Republican efforts to enact redistricting. Hochul hosted Texas Democrats who fled their state in an effort to block a redistricting vote on Monday. The New York Democrat argued that President Trump and Republicans are engaged in a legal insurrection. She had to correct that in the video. She's like, I don't mean it's illegal. I mean they're using the law to do something that's illegal, but it's legal insurrection. A legal insurrection to subvert the upcoming 2026 elections, leaving Democrats with no choice but to embrace the same tactics. What Texas and Republicans are doing at the direction of Donald Trump, I say, is nothing short of a legal insurrection against our capital. They don't know what a boy and a girl is. They wear the face masks 5 years out of COVID, and now they're talking about a legal insurrection against our capital. Presumably so they can try to, I don't know, impeach a third time. These people are insane idiots. Legal meaning they're using the legal process. It doesn't mean it's illegal and it must be stopped. Can you flesh that one out, Kathy? We should change the term Karen to Kathy. Legal meaning they're using the legal process, but it doesn't mean it's legal. Thank you. Everyone in the room is now dumber for having listened to you, Kathy. If Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same. I'm sure Pritzker from Illinois is sitting there laughing. He's like, Kathy, maybe you want to come up to Chicago, see what's going on up here for the last 50 years? All is fair in love and war. That's why I'm exploring with our leaders every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible. I actually do want to go back to the video. Let me pull up the video because she did say something in the end which could arguably be deemed to be a call to violence. And I don't use that word. Let me see where her ugly face is. Right.
Newsflash for Republicans
right
in Texas.
Here, towards the end.
My great friend, J.B. Pritzker, welcome you as well. As I said, history will judge us on how we respond to this moment. But here in New York, we will not stand on the sidelines with the timid souls on the sidelines who don't care, will not invest their heart and soul into this battle. This is a war. We are at war.
This is a war. We are at war. Hey, Kathy, is that a dog whistle to some of your deranged lunatic fans? We're at war. What do you do in war? What do you do to your enemy in war? We're at war. We are at war. And she goes on.
And that's why the gloves are off. And I say, bring it on.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Can you imagine if Trump, I don't believe there's any video of Trump saying we're at war. Could you imagine what they would have said if Trump had said we're at war, bring it on? They tried to impeach him over it will be wild. Or I think it was will be wild. Let me see something here. Speaking of will be wild. Yeah, I'm fairly certain I put up a shirt to that. I did. I was wearing it the other day. Will be wild. They tried to impeach him over that tweet because they said, come down to the protest on the Capitol Hill. We'll be wild. That's a call to violence. Kathy Hochul getting up there saying all's fair in love and war and we're at war. This is war. Gets a pass. Oh, she didn't mean anything by that. And if another one of her Ukraine-obsessed followers decides to camp out at Mar-a-Lago, yeah, she won't have any blame for that. I mean, she just basically told people we're at war. It's life or death. It's the future of the country. It's a legal insurrection on the Capitol. We're at war. All's fair in love and war. You know what to do. Unhinged lunatics who are on the right side of history but can't identify a man from a woman. Wear a face mask on your freaking chin. And talk about legal insurrections that are not legal, but they're using the legal levers of power to commit an legal insurrection. Idiots.